Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it. This meeting is being live streamed.
All right, yeah, you're on live now, so don't say anything embarrassing. Make sure that your volume's off. Are you gonna, if you log on your phone, you can see the comments too. So if
Okay.
you go to my channel, using separate device, you can see it.
Yeah, I was curious about that. Um, I'm not sure how to get in there and do that. So you said log in, go to your channel, right?
And go in as a watcher, as you're like you're watching it.
Okay, I think I got it.
And there's gonna be a delay, so, and you don't wanna watch yourself on the live stream because it's
Hmm.
delayed.
Yeah, that would throw me off. I know, even just hearing myself, like if I hear myself in feedback through speakers, I start sounding like I'm stroking out.
I feel like I'm streaming it. I feel that hear myself. Okay, yeah. I think I'm gonna put it on my phone. So you can watch it and look at the comments as well.
Yeah, I think for this run, I'll keep my phone face down so I won't see comments immediately, but at different points, I'll turn it over and see if anybody had anything to say.
Yeah, it can be distracting.
The people who play games professionally on Twitch, I don't know how they do it. Yeah, I think for this run, I'll keep my phone face down so I won't.
Yeah. Turn the volume on. There we go. Okay, so now I can see the comments. Because there's three people watching, but one of them's you. Hi, guys. So this is Eric Moore. He has a blog and website, and you also do services. And I am going to link your stuff in the description so that people can go to see your stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. This is great. I know that we wanted to talk about a few different subjects, but why don't you start with yourself and talk about yourself a little bit? I know I hate when people ask me.
Yeah, I know whenever I get asked that question, a lot of times it's a case of like, well, what do you want to know? Like my
Right.
mind will just go blank. But like in this circumstance, I think it's relevant to go into my initiation, my experience as a practitioner. So I started working with spirits and I started doing magic back in 2018. Uh, it was toward the end of that year when out of nowhere Lucifer's End started being recommended to me pretty much every time I went to YouTube, and I had that feeling that if I played it, there wasn't going to be any going back.
Yeah.
And I know that initially going into that, like there, I was wary of anything even remotely related to the New Age. So like when it came to things like Reiki and energy healing, I wasn't quick to jump on that. But when I saw that people like you were, practicing and believing a lot of the same things I did, I went ahead and took that leap. And so the way that my practice has evolved is that it's gotten more into direct energy work and it's gotten into attuning to different energies, attuning to different spirits, and it's evolved to a place where healing and the psychological aspect of things has taken the forefront of my practice, personal and when I'm working with clients.
Is that where you first found me? Was on YouTube?
No, I didn't find you through YouTube. I'm trying to remember exactly what my first exposure was. Because I know that I've been on different platforms over the years, and I know you've been on different platforms over the years.
Right, yeah. I think it's been like years. I think I've known you for years.
Hmm. I know I had you do my chakra removal back in 2020 because I wasn't confident enough to do that for myself at the time. And that was a case where it's like, okay, the government's throwing money at me right now. If it wants to throw money on my bank account, let's hail Satan.
Yes, I do remember that. Okay, yes. So funny. I bet that feels like forever. So I do want to tell everybody that Eric is a helper in the Discord for Astro Mastery because he has a bunch of knowledge about the occult and about healing practices and pretty much everything to do with that. So he comes in and helps people when they ask questions and when they need even support. Like you're really great at supporting people on the Discord, and I really appreciate that. A lot of the times, during our transformations, there's gonna be like, oh my God, what the fuck moments. And that's when people
Mhm.
come on and they share that and we kind of cheer each other on, which is amazing. And you especially do jump on the great people. Appreciate that a lot. It's a great help.
Yeah, I know for me, and it goes back before I initiated in an end to any kind of magic. I feel like this entire lifetime has been an initiation where I was at the top of a very long ladder and I hit every rung on the way down. So, like, I get it when people are going through rough times, and it's a case of I view it very much as a situation where if the gods put me in a position to get all of this experience, I'm probably supposed to put it to use.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where I have been recently in my journey is finding those people to help and their story being a lot like mine,
Hmm.
a lot like mine. And it's like, wow, okay, this is why I had to go through this. This is why
Hmm.
I was put in the family that I was put in. This is why things happen. And it's kind of like I'm the center of the universe way of thinking.
Hmm.
But I like that. So it's it does feel like that to me in my journey. Like it feels like everything has happened for me.
Right.
Everybody that's come in my life has been for me. And then I'm using that to help other people. So
Hmm.
it's really
Yeah, the way that I like to put it is that like I'm the center of my own universe. And I see it as everybody else is also the center of their own universes. And that's how it should be. That's what it's like when we're sovereign in ourselves and we're stepping into our power and we're really embracing the experience of life. I think like, okay, when it comes to topics like narcissism, I think where people get into issues there is when they try to make themselves the center of your universe.
yes. Yes, absolutely. When yes, toxic people, I mean narcissism,
Hmm.
they try to rule over you in that way. That's not what I'm talking about. It's kind of like ruling over yourself.
Exactly.
That's what real power is. And that was, I actually made a video about that today because a lot of people will think that power is bad because it's like, oh, power over other people. If they think of the
Right.
government or, just people that take advantage of others because they have power. And that's not what I'm talking about. Like that
Hmm.
power can be toxic if used in that way. Like it's an energy. It's an
Hmm.
energy that you wield how you wield it. If you want power, you are not a bad person. It is about power over yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't actually have any real power if you are entirely externally focused. Because if you are focused entirely on exercising power over other people or even over circumstances with an iron fist, then you're making that into your God.
Yeah, and you will find when you have power in yourself, people will mold into what you want
Hmm.
anyway. Like they kind of just fall in line with what you need them to be, or they'll fall away. I mean, like that's just
Yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
no.
Uh, it, in this society, we are conditioned to believe that being passive and being very appeasing toward other people, people pleasing, like that's noble, that's a virtue. No, it's not. Because if you're for everybody, you're not for anybody and you're abandoning yourself. Like it's okay if people fall away. If I'm for everybody, then I've done something seriously wrong somewhere along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of like shifting your mindset around. I mean, I never really, I guess I did think power was over having power over other people years ago. Um, and that it was a bad thing only because that's my experience with people who wanted to have power with me.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to shift my thinking around that. And also like the past relationships that I've been in, the more power that I got, like personal power, like they would be offended.
Yep.
Because they were actually trying to control me. So it's like, yeah, that's
Yep.
not good.
Yeah. And I know that the path that I followed in life, I started out the gate with a very dysfunctional relationship with power. Because my father was a raging narcissist. It was basically a cult of one in the family. You disagreed with him and you were stupid. If you agreed with him, you were smart. And the way that he would fly off the handle, like once I hit my teenage years, I knew that I never wanted to be like him. And I never wanted to do the stuff to other people that he did. But how do you parse that when you don't have any other examples to look to? So he was a very angry person. So I came to think if I am ever angry, then I'm like him.
Yeah, I had the same issues. Like I had a narcissistic father and he wouldn't yell a whole lot. He more ruled with just being how he was and like fear. Like it was just
Hmm.
and like what he did rather than like yelling. Um, but it was the same thing. Like, you know, he would put you down and then I ended up marrying somebody a lot like him, which we tend to do sometimes. And then it's just, it's so clear to me now that why I'm supposed to help people gain their power. Because
Yes.
for years, like I was in that relationship and he would constantly tell me how powerless I was.
Hmm.
In words even, and also actions. Then I felt
Yes.
powerless. And even when I left, I still would hear his voice in my head telling me what a piece of shit I was.
Hmm.
So it's like I want to help those people, you know, the ones who they got out of bad relationships. They're doing shadow work and they're doing the healing, but there's still that stuff left, that
Hmm.
voice in their head, like their ex or their father or their mother talking to them in their mind. And a lot of that is um chords and so things. And once you pull those out, like you're gone, there's just silence. That's it's really, really personal for me to help people with that because
Yeah. And I know that in terms of working with healers, like one of the reasons that I've come to you for repeat business is because you've been very good at helping clear certain blocks that were very stubborn. And also, you're one of the healers that I never went to you and felt vampirized after the fact. Because there's a lot of people who get into this who they're not dealing with their shadows, they're not dealing with their issues. And in a lot of cases, I think that those are people who are externalizing what they're doing. Like they're externalizing their own healing instead of taking responsibility for it. And I know, like with the voice of the father in the head, I've come to refer to that kind of thing as exorcising the ghosts from your bones.
oh, how did you go about exercising?
It came down to getting realistic about who I am doing enough self work that other people couldn't define me because with the kind of background that I had, this is what happens with trauma is that you tend to have a very immature ego by the time you hit adulthood. So for me, I would say that I didn't really have an ego or a sense of self by the time that I was an adult.
That's common to people with narcissistic parents.
Yep.
You pretty much just beat it out of you.
And one of the things that I had to grapple with is I think that what was done to me was exactly what will make someone a narcissist. So I think that I had all that programming in me, and I had to unravel that programming and also take accountability for the stuff that, I was way off the mark with, while at the same time not condemning myself for it. Because the hardest part of getting over that hurdle is getting past that deep core of shame, which feels completely insurmountable. It feels like you will die if you face it. And in a lot of ways, you kind of will. And you have to go into that willingly in order to come out the other side as a full-fledged person who is actually capable of harnessing your emotions, of experiencing anger the way you're supposed to, of expressing it the way you're supposed to, and also be able to help people instead of deepening their traumas when you're reaching out and you're doing healing work.
Amazing to me that people just enter adulthood knowing all that stuff already. Because like
Yeah,
healthy parents, like I can't even imagine it. Like if I can't fathom it, and like I do not vibe with those people. But
it's just insane to think about how normalized abuse has been in our society. And how even today, you'll talk to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I went through that, but I turned out fine. And there's obvious signs that they didn't. And there's obvious signs that they still haven't worked through a lot of their stuff.
and working through your stuff is such a personal process for everybody. You can somebody can tell you one way to do it, like a therapist or whatever. They can be like, okay, start here, do this and this and this, but it's never going to be the same. So following your intuition and your healing is extremely important. Like for you,
Yes,
Lucifer showed up, you know?
it's a highly individuated process.
Yeah.
And it's why when it comes down to working out formulas, and I know that people want specific answers. People want specific formulas, and I understand that. I wanted that too, because especially in my lowest moments, it would have been so great if somebody could have just laid out step by step, this is what I need to do.
But that's really kind of what I'm trying to build is laying out a step-by-step process for people like me, for people like you, because I know our
Yeah.
traumas are pretty similar. And so many other people have similar traumas.
Yes.
And laying that out in a way where there's still, you know, some room for them to wiggle room, right? And
Yeah.
then them to activate that change and become a person. Like it really hit me when you said I didn't know who I was because that was me in my 20s. Like I had no fucking at all.
Hmm.
When you don't know who you are, like your personal power is like zero. Like
Exactly.
you don't know who you are, so you don't know what you want to do. You don't know what you want to say yes to. You don't know what you want to say no to. So you're kind
Hmm.
of just like blown in the wind and taken and manipulated basically. Like, and when you do gain that power, the personal power, the universe bends to you instead of
Yes.
you being bent by everything that comes. And it was rough. My 20s were rough. Like I I guess it's taken me like I I would say I didn't really start realizing who I was personally until like 2016 when I was like 30. That's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that the process took about the same amount of time for me. Basically, I've spent half my life, since I hit the age of majority, I spent half my life actually getting to the point where I am a full-fledged person and a functional adult.
Yay! Functional adults.
And I think you're right that in terms of the structure, you can make the structure universal. It kind of reminds me of something that I told people a long while back, like when it comes to, say, going out and getting therapy. I think that when it comes to getting therapy, like it can be a very good thing. And I wholeheartedly recommend it for the people who are like severely hurting and feel that they need that extra support. But it was also a case of with somebody who was kind of hesitant to jump in because they've had some bad experiences. What I would tell them is, listen, I don't think that a therapist is 100% required for you, but I do think that the processes that a good therapist would guide you through are necessary.
I can give you some really good tools.
Hmm.
Manage your emotions and tap into those emotions. Because another thing that society tells you is that emotions are bad
Yes.
and you should hide them, especially when men. Like
Hmm.
emotions are good. Like
Yep.
you get, you know, upset or angry about something, it's good to let it out. Otherwise, it just stays stuck in your body. And when
Yes.
in the way of like money blocks, especially, like if you don't feel anything, if you don't feel joy every time you get like a ding on your phone that you have made a sale. Instead, you're like, meh,
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh,
Like universe is gonna be like, oh, okay, well, you don't want money then. There's
yeah.
both.
Yeah. And as a man, oh boy, especially coming from the background that I did, where, okay, my father was not only a raging narcissist, he was also a serial failure as an entrepreneur.
Oh no.
So he started out driving trucks. He got into an accident that really should have killed him. You know, shame it didn't. But he took his settlement money and he invested it in a shipping company that used vans when he was told outright that was a bad idea. And he hired a guy that put gasoline inside of a diesel engine. And then later on, he started up a construction company thinking that, oh, he could just be one part of it instead of, being a general contractor. But the market had shifted so that if you weren't a general contractor, you weren't getting business. And he bought the equipment before he found this out.
Oh,
And in order to get work, he severely underbid on every single job and brought in third parties to fill in the gaps that he couldn't. So there was that. Then he had a bunch of angry customers on the phone shouting at him all the time. I internalize stuff to the point where I get a win monetarily and I'm in panic mode because I think the next thing that's coming is somebody getting on the phone and shouting at me.
oh, and it might happen, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're in business for yourself, that's going to happen now and then. It's just you got to let it roll off your back. And also, hey, if I did screw up, I need to be able to deal with that, make it right. You can deal with it. But when you're in that environment as a kid where it's always DEF CON 1, as an adult, it takes a long time to get around to, I'm safe, this is okay, this is not a serious catastrophe, even if it is annoying.
Yeah, and that his failure, like his DNA failure is like coded into you. And so you're gonna have to like deprogram all of that.
Yep.
Want to be an entrepreneur. And like I said, like your fear is gonna be
Hmm.
okay, if I'm even a little bit successful for a minute, it's all gonna come crashing down tomorrow. Like that kind of thing for that. I don't necessarily have that particular wound, but I can definitely see where you would get that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with the emotional side of it, it's a case where as a man, it's very easy to get framed as being weak. And that is the last thing that you want to be.
Famous being what?
Weak.
Weak. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like the toxic masculinity podcasts. But yeah, but yeah, the emotion thing, like emotions are such incredible power. And if you can harness that correctly, let that out correctly, like it's the universal code. It's the code of
Yes.
the universe. That's how you talk to the universe. Like the
Hmm.
time that I had the most huge things happen to me is when I was screaming at the universe, like, this is what I want and I want it now, like that. And I felt it, like,
Hmm.
I'm not, those were like the biggest shifts.
Yes.
But we're taught to like shut our emotions down, shut them out. Like, don't be angry. Why are you so angry? Why are you so upset? Why are you crying? Like people say that to the kids, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. And people also have this idea that you do all your healing and your work through your head. And that's not where the magic actually happens. The emotions are tied to your primal aspects. They're your connection to your source. So if you're not pulling from your emotions, there's an occult term that I read in a book a long time ago. It's planting the tree upside down. So putting the roots up in the air. And that's what a lot of people are trying to do with their healing and with their magic. And you can make a lot of things shift in the ether by doing that. But it's going to disappear just as quickly because it's never grounded. It's never given the stuff from the earth, from the primal aspects that it needs to take on form.
So what do you mean by turning the tree upside down? Like, what exactly do you mean? I'm not sure.
Well, think about it. If a tree is planted upside down, it's supposed to be right side up so that the roots are in the soil
Mhm.
and it's drawing nutrients from the soil.
Right.
Whereas if you plant it upside down and it's up in the air, it can't pull anything from the air. It can't nourish itself from the air. And so if you look at that relative to how we're structured, if you are always in your head and you're trying to think your way to healing and you're trying to think your emotions, I think that's the biggest trap that a lot of people fall into is that they mistake thinking for feeling. And that's like having your roots up in the air. So you're actually upside down. You're slowly rotting because you're not getting the nutrients from the earth that you need, which would be like your root. It would be your emotions. It would be what connects you to your primal aspects. And they're making all this stuff move around in their head. And they're thinking that it's progress. But when they're actually forced back into their body, when they're actually forced into feeling what they're repressing, it's obvious that those things are slowly getting worse because they're neglecting it.
Okay, that's sweet. Thank you. Yeah, feeling it in your body. And I think that's the problem with a lot of shadow work courses.
Hmm.
Um, is they do have you thinking thinking about things and like delving into trauma, which great, but like not so great at the same time because you can get stuck there.
Hmm.
But they kind of leave out the aspect of feeling things in your body and how important that is. Like you said, the kind of air makes total sense.
Yeah. And the way I see it, that's great if all I want to do is keep selling an infinite number of courses to the same people. But if I actually want to see them improve, it's not going to be comfortable and it's not going to be pretty because if that mental work, because the mental work is important, it just can't take priority over absolutely everything else. The mind and body have to be connected. And if they're connected, then there's going to be times where realizations come through as you're doing journaling or something like that. And you're just going to break down crying and you got to let it happen.
And not even like crying. I think something that people don't talk about is like the depression stages that you.
Yes.
where you're not necessarily crying, but you just feel like shit, and you just want to sleep all day, and people are like, oh, I'm not being productive, this is terrible, and like I'm guilty.
Hmm.
Well, it's like, okay, this is bad. I don't want to do this. I have things to do today. But what's happening is you're actually upgrading and you need that rest.
Yes. It's very much like when you're physically sick. Because I know that if you come down with a cold, you're very likely to feel depressed. And that's not because there's something seriously wrong with you. Like the depression isn't wrong in itself. It's because your body's forcing you to slow down.
But you need to feel your shit.
Yes.
And I find that those depression stages happen a lot less after I started doing like breathing, because
Yeah.
that will release a lot of that out. So like I still get like the upgrade colds, is what I call them, but like the really deep depressive states where I've bottled up all my emotions for 6 months and now it's all catching up with me. Like that doesn't happen
Hmm.
so much anymore. So like, yeah, the Wim Hof breathing for an hour is really good for that, getting all of that out. And just exercise a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when it comes to healing, like the mark of real healing is not that you never feel bad again. It's not that you never feel down. It's not that you never feel depressed. It's that you start feeling things in real time. So you're not pushing it down and then having to unearth it later. And so those times of depression, they're a lot easier to get through because they last for a split second compared to pushing it down and carrying it with you for years and then having to excavate it like you're going through some ancient ruins and, unearthing some ungodly eldritch beast that is lurking deep within your soul.
Yes, feeling things in real time. That is something that I have started doing. And even if it's just like, so if somebody says something to me or something, that triggers me, before I wouldn't even know it was happening. And I would just get, sad or depressed. I'm like, why am I so sad? I don't even notice. But like, and then of course I don't say anything. I don't get it off my chest. And so it's like shoved in my body.
Yep.
But now somebody can say something, and it might take me 15 minutes, like at the most, where I'm just like, oh, that was funny, I'm great. And then I'll just start thinking, wait, what,
Yep. Yep.
how do I feel about this? You don't like this. And I'll just get,
I've had a lot of moments where in the moment I'm like, yeah, no, that's totally okay, cool. About 15 minutes later, it's like, okay, listen up, you motherfucker. I'm not gonna kick your ass, but I want to.
right, right, exactly. But then like instead of bottling up, you say something because you actually have healthy relationships in your life now where they'll listen to you. And so you say something and then you get it out and maybe you have a fight, maybe you don't, maybe you have an
Yep.
argument, like, then it's over and it's not bottled up and
Yep.
there's no resentment there.
Yeah, and I know that another like a big thing for me has been, you know what? It's actually not healthy to have relationships where there's never conflict.
Well, a terrible idea.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it has to be a drag out fight or anything like that. That's not healthy. But conflict, you can't avoid it, and you need those conflict resolution skills. Otherwise, you can't be present in the relationship, and they're not being real with you.
Yeah, there's no way they can just be happy with you all the time, 100% for a year. It's like, that's not, there's
Yeah,
resentment. Like, I was in a 10-year relationship with somebody that I never fought with. We never had fights
yeah,
until the end. And the person's like, okay, these 9 years of resentment is like coming out and
yeah.
everything else. And like, holy shit. Oh, I thought we got along great. No, No, I
Yep.
was angry about this from like 2010 and like
It's amazing the stuff that'll come out in a big flood. And I think this is another thing when it comes to healing is that there tends to be a lot of self-consciousness and shame when it comes to finally expressing it because it's not going to be pretty. And it's not going to be something that you're necessarily proud of after the fact, but you still got to get it out because it's like, okay, you're in that long-term relationship where suddenly, it can be the smallest thing that finally sets off the avalanche. But when that avalanche sets off, you start realizing, oh, you know what? This isn't even just about that. This is about stuff that happened back in 1993 that I'm finally getting off my chest.
that. So yeah, I'm working with these energies and doing all this stuff has really helped me just like it's 15 minutes later. It's not years later.
Hmm.
And yeah, and also realizing, oh hey, yeah, I am mad about this. And that's okay.
Hmm.
Okay if I'm mad about this. Does it mean I'm right? Maybe, maybe not.
Yep,
It's not about being right or wrong. It's about me telling you my feelings right now,
exactly.
but me processing later and maybe you can see why I felt like this because this PTSD, this happened, or you know,
Hmm.
this person did this to me once, and I was sent back there in my mind, and all of a sudden you were all my ex-boyfriends, like you talk about that, and then you get closer instead of farther away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because people who are safe enough will understand that. And that, they'll have experiences like that themselves. Like they're not going to take it out on you. And I know that like the difference between, say, somebody who is healthy or who has the capacity to become healthy and somebody who just becomes like a raging narcissist or a toxic person, it's down to that. Like it's down to can you face yourself? Can you talk things out? When you feel something, can you also, go through the process of realizing I may not be right, but I am still feeling this and I still need to process and express it.
right. They can take themselves out of it.
Hmm.
So it isn't so fragile, like every little thing is going something wrong.
And I know, like, for
Oh,
me, I've been too good at that my entire life, which like, I've had to wind that back because I would have so many of these instances where okay, I'm pissed off. I know I'm pissed off, but now I'm overthinking and I cannot get to a solution or an answer. It's like, I'm just gonna sit on this, screw it. It's not worth it until I can't keep it bottled up anymore and I gotta do something with it.
yeah, it takes a certain amount of maturity to do something like that, like emotional intelligence, which is something a lot of like narcissists and toxic people do not have because
Hmm.
they're stuck at the mental and emotional level of like 15.
Yes.
Like I remember when my daughter was like 14 or 15 and she would do things and remind me of an ex-boyfriend.
Hmm.
Oh my God. Like he was literally a teenage girl. Like, why did I put up? And yeah, they just never mature past that age where they got some kind of trauma happen to them. They're just kind of stuck there. They can't see it, take accountability, and literally looping that age or
Yeah.
hurting.
And I know that one thing I had to own was how I was drawn to a lot of those types, not because I was trying to help and fix them, but because I was trying to take what was in me and externalize it onto them and work through the stuff I didn't want to feel by being in relationships with them, by being overly helpful, by putting up with way too much. Almost like if I could somehow fix the situation that I'm in now, that would heal me from what I went through in my childhood and everything would be all good without me actually having to feel it.
The trap. It's all a trap.
Yep.
That's when, the words must heal yourself come in.
Yep.
Heal your inner child or uh
And I know that one of the things that I came around to realizing is, hey, whoever this person is, because the thing is with words like narcissism, I think that it actually gets thrown around too easily these days. I think that we do have a lot of people who are legitimately narcissistic, but I think that people get obsessed with that label when this is an internal state. That's between them and their higher self and their source. You know, if they aren't narcissistic, it's still not my job to save them. I'm still not obligated to be there for them. I'm not obligated to stay bonded with them or to maintain soul ties or any of that. And in many cases, my help is enabling them, and the most compassionate thing that I can do is walk away.
Right, yeah, especially if they're just an extreme avoidant. Like
Hmm.
they're gonna get sick of it maybe eventually and change, but it's not the problem. It's not
Right.
like to fix them, really results.
Like I've known people, for example, who that they're unemployed, they're not going anywhere in life, they're just wallowing and they're maintaining bonds with people, and they're always going on and on and on, using spiritual stuff to bypass, talking about how enlightened they are when they're not actually doing any work on themselves. And like there was one person I knew who had a friend like that, and I told her, it's like, listen, walk away. You're actually enabling him, because as long as he still has somewhere to vent, he doesn't have to face himself. And when they finally did that, he messaged him months later and said, you know what? You were completely in the right. That was exactly what I needed. He had a job and he had a girlfriend just suddenly. It turns out that when he didn't have somewhere to vent constantly, he actually made progress in his life.
You think that, yeah, because you don't wanna be somebody, you don't wanna be somebody that people just kind of dump on.
Hmm.
Like that's what you can go to a therapist about. Like even if you're in a relationship with somebody, if they're constantly talking about all their trauma,
Hmm.
in their past and all of this stuff like to you, and you feel drained and tired, like you gotta put up and be like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
And you aren't helping them at that point. But you are helping them when you say no, find somebody else, find a professional. It's
Yeah.
not a job in a nice way.
Yeah. The best thing that you can do for other people is being grounded in yourself and having boundaries. And I know, like, when it comes to talk about who is a narcissist, who isn't, more and more I've taken on the perspective, it's not for me to label other people. It's
Yeah.
for the narcissist to reveal themselves. So if somebody's actually a narcissist versus an immature person, if I walk away, an immature person is going to mature. They're going to face themselves. They're going to make progress because they don't have a choice anymore. If they've been leaning on me as a crutch, they don't have a choice anymore. A narcissist is going to double down. They're going to latch on to somebody else. And that pattern's going to be everywhere for everybody to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they're gonna do all the narcissistic things. Mirror you, your campaigns, be a victim, blah, blah. Whereas, yeah, and it's not our job to label people. It's our job to understand how we feel when we're around them. How,
Hmm.
how they make us feel, how are they affecting our life? Because entwining our energy, even as friendships with people, can have traumatic consequences to
Yes.
your love life, your other friendships, and your money. Even
Hmm.
being out with somebody that's constantly complaining about how they have no money and mother for, then that's gonna smear out
Hmm.
too. Let me check the comments and see if anybody,
Yeah, because I know, looking at the time, it's almost time to call it.
anybody that's watching, any questions or comments for me or Eric. I will post Eric's website and information in the description, and also he is one of the moderators in House of Mercy.
And yeah, somebody said that a lot of times people like start going down this road and it's more about the spiritual aesthetics than it is actually making progress. And that's very much true.
About the spiritual, what?
The aesthetics.
Spiritual aesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they're kind of avoiding rejecting. Yeah. And anybody that can go around saying how spiritual they are, don't know that when you're spiritual, you know that you don't know shit. Like that's
Yeah. And the ones that are out there all loud and pompous, it's like saying, I am the most humble person on the planet.
I feel like in times as humble as thou art. Yeah, but let's see. You guys have any questions? I know we did want to touch on chakra removal too at some point, so we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Um, Once we getting old, I'm like, people, this sounds like caring only for spiritual aesthetics and surface level, not caring enough about the deeper stuff. Yeah, Alexis, the deeper real stuff is scary, like that video you posted earlier, and that's what mastery, like. Nobody wants to know, like, their life might fall apart, they might lose their friends and family and everything that they've ever had. Like, that's
Hmm.
kind of, that's not what gets people into spiritual or witchcraft. A lot of times we get into witchcraft to reverse their house. They honestly, in spirituality, they're just like, okay, once I'm spiritual, everything's in peace and love and all the time. That's not, like,
Yeah.
yes, you feel like that sometimes, but that's not how. And you might have to go through a bunch of terrible shit first, like,
Yeah.
but if you have trauma buildup, like what we were talking about, holding in all your emotions, like that's gonna all come apart now. And then you have people in your life who suck and try to control you, they are gonna be gone, like,
Hmm.
that's, but then you get the peace most of the time. Like I would say 71% of the time I am peaceful.
Hmm.
And then, but no, especially since I can get my anger out in 15 minutes.
Yes. And I would also say that I know for my path, even when I am unsettled, even when I'm having some difficulty with my emotions, it doesn't control me the way that it used to.
Right.
So, like, I can be aware of it in my head. I can even be in an instance where, okay, it's not appropriate to express this here and now, but I can get through this. I can see my way through it. I can stay centered, and I can deal with it as soon as I have the ability.
Yeah, it takes some self-control. For sure. Yeah, it doesn't mean raging as soon as you, there are appropriate times for raging, like raging.
Hmm.
But raging at your loved ones is not what I'm talking about. Like you
Right.
rage at your children because they stole your eyeliner in the bathroom for the 10th time is not appropriate. You can channel that into something else or set your boundaries because you know that's how you feel. You don't want to. Well, this has been fun and great, and we will do this again. I would love to be on the shop room.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do this anytime.
And yeah, and I'll post your stuff in the description. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Bye, guys. Bye, Eric.